'Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back, glad to see you looking fresh, and today we're going to talk about the most anticipated films of 2024. This list is made by me. These are my 20 most anticipated films of the year. Going forward, of course, looking onward, there'll be a lot of big budget things, a lot of things that push marketing way earlier in the year. So I'm sure this will not be my favorite films of the year, but heck, they might be. Oftentimes, a couple of these do appear on my best of the year lists, so I'm always excited for the coming years of film, and this year we have a decent slate of movies. It's interesting because of the stuff that got pushed back and delayed from last year. These are my picks for the 20 most anticipated films of the year. Let's start off with Kraven the Hunter. So this I'm more interested than excited about, probably, because the Sony Marvel Pictureverse, whatever they want to call it, it's a bit of a weird grouping. There, of course, is the Venom films, which I find pretty good. The really bad Morbius movie, and now we have Madam Web, which isn't on this list, and Kraven the Hunter. So Kraven is a character I actually know a little bit about, as opposed to Madam Web, which I know next to nothing about. So it's cool that Kraven is an interesting enough character to get his own story on the big screen. I do feel that this may be like the death nail in how comic book films are made in the current era, and how we may advance onward with like how the MCU seems to be treading water right now, so they're going to probably shake it up, and, you know, James Gunn's DCU going forward. It'll be interesting to see what happens, so I'm interested. See what Kraven the Hunter has. Mean Girls. So I'm a big fan of musicals. I'm not a huge fan of the Mean Girls movie. I also haven't seen it since early high school, probably middle school. So it's been a long, long time since I've seen this movie, the original movie. This movie is not a remake. It's an adaptation of the musical, which I find really, really cool. So a lot of people don't seem to know that. I think they probably know it now, considering the movie is set to come out. This is the earliest film on this list, a January film. Interesting that I have a January film on the list, but nonetheless, I am excited to see it. Like I said, I love musicals, and I hope we get more musicals because they're great. It's kind of a dead genre, so any musical that comes out, I'll try to support. Paddington in Peru, the third Paddington film. Is this Paddington 3? Are we still going to get I assume this is just Paddington 3, just the subtitle instead. So I'm a little bit scared about Paddington 3, not because I think it's going to be bad. And I don't even really adore the Paddington films like some people do. Some people love those Paddington films. I think they're really good, but I'm not up to that level that a lot of people are. I do still think and hope for their sakes that this movie is that good. It does hit the same level of quality that the other ones did for them. I hope for another cute, heartwarming adventure, and I assume I'll get that, but like I said, I hope for the people that love this franchise, this is another amazing one for them. Borderlands. So I'm not a super big Borderlands fan. I am a big just video game fan as a whole, though, so a world as bright and expressive as Borderlands could make for a pretty bright and expressive film. That's more what I'm excited about here. The cast is pretty good. The world, the story could be really good. I have not seen a lot from this that makes me super excited or super wary, so straight down the line, video game adaptation, I hope it's good. Spaceman, starring Adam Sandler. So I'm a big Adam Sandler fan. I love, especially when he does more of his serious work, like Uncut Gems, I think that movie's absolutely wonderful. So this movie seems to be a contemplative story about a spaceman in space, and I don't know much about it. I don't know much about the director because I haven't seen Chernobyl. So I've heard it's really good, though. So that's a good plus in that direction. But a serious Adam Sandler role, I love to see it. There's not many of those. He chooses to do comedic movies with his friends, and I can respect that. It's up to him. He has all the money and the power that he wants to do with, so more power to him. He can be wonderful, though. He can be like that higher echelon acting power if he wants to be, and I think this one will be great. Alien Romulus, another space-ish movie. I hope this continues on with the Alien Covenant storyline after Prometheus, because that saga seemed to have like a grand story to tell leading up to the first Alien movie, but honestly, I don't know. I've heard that this movie might take place like after Aliens. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just kind of going to want to go into this blind, completely blind, like it's an Alien film. Alright, I'll probably see it. Like I've seen all the rest of them, why would I stop now? So completely blind on what this movie is, story-wise, timeline-wise, and just kind of let it hit me. I think that's probably the best way to do it with something like this, because like I said, it's an Alien movie, that's kind of all I need to know, so maybe going in, no trailers, no nothing, might be the best way of this, but I'm excited nonetheless. The Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. So this is not an anime. It's made by an anime director, so I keep wanting to say this is an anime film. It's an animation, at least, of The War of Rohirrim, which is hundreds of years before The Lord of the Rings take place. So new setting, not even new world, new characters, but familiar settings, familiar locales. Hopefully that same lovely Lord of the Rings feeling that Hobbit tried and sometimes was able to recapture, but it's hard. It's a hard thing to recapture the true magic of those original 3 films. So I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic, but we'll have to see. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is a sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, a movie that I really enjoyed. Kind of divisive amongst film fans, but I thought it was great. So more of the Ghostbusters, more going back to New York. I think that was a big complaint for a lot of people, is Ghostbusters Afterlife didn't really feel like it fit in the Ghostbusters universe because it lacked the New York tie-in. So we're going back to New York, more ghosts, more antics. I hope a little more comedy. Like Ghostbusters Afterlife was great. It was heartfelt and it was a little bit sad. So hopefully this is back to the goofy comedy that Ghostbusters does so well. Mickey 17, starring Robert Pattinson, directed by Bong Joon-ho, and that's all I needed to know about this. I've seen the teaser trailer, sure. Didn't tell me next to anything. So, that said, director, star, alone, I think that's as good of a duo as can sell me. So, I'll be there. I want to support it. Knowing my luck, it probably won't show anywhere near me, but maybe it will. So hopefully I'll be able to see this in theaters. Quiet Place Day One is, of course, the prequel to the Quiet Place franchise, to see what happens the very first day that this whole monster alien nonsense took place. So this is a cool idea, being able to see like what happens the day one, like to see the slaughter. I guess that's kind of a brutal way to say it, but to see what happens to a lot of people when this alien invasion took place. When we start A Quiet Place, we're already set in the world, and we're already set with these characters that kind of know what they're doing. Sure, there's a little bit of a road bump to get to where they need to be. We see a little bit of the growing pains of this world, but we don't really get to see day one fully. So, it'll be interesting. It'll be devastating, I'm sure. I hope they do this well. The thing with the Quiet Place films, when I see them, I think they're really great, and I think they're wonderful. But I feel like they haven't left a super lasting impact on me. So, I'm always excited to see more of that world. But, maybe I need to rewatch the Quiet Place franchise at this point and just delve myself back into the world to get excited for the, hopefully, eventually Quiet Place 3 that comes out. Okay, top 10 time. Argylle, directed by Matthew Vaughn, starts us off here, number 10, with a spy film, which Matthew Vaughn can do a really good spy film. He is a bit more hit and miss for me lately than I would like to admit. At a time, I would say Matthew Vaughn is one of my favorite directors, period. But, I don't know, Kingsman started amazingly and then has steadily dropped. So, I don't know. I'm excited to see this. It looks big and flashy and fun, which I'm hopeful for. It also stars Henry Cavill, who I love, Dua Lipa, who I love her music, but I don't know how good of an actress she'll be, so hopefully it'll be good. And they're like spies in a book, and the story is based on, like, the writer, Bryce Dallas Howard, writes a book that's, like, really close to real life. So it's, like, real life versus fake in-universe stuff. My big nervous point with this film is I feel like I'm going to be wanting to spend more time in this, like, the big, like, fun spy universe with Henry Cavill than the real-life universe with Bryce Dallas Howard. I don't know. Maybe I'll enjoy it the other way around more. Films like this, I find, have to really strike a balance between the two, so I'm hoping this one can do that. Terrifier 3 is going to be a holiday film, which is fun. So Terrifier films, the first one is a very stock average slasher film. It's pretty low, very low budget, I'll even say that. The second one is not like it steps up much. But like it just indulges in itself and it plays to its strengths and it's a ton of fun in a grotesque kind of way. So Terrifier 3 I hope kind of steps it up a little bit more. I don't know. Terrifier 2 was on my best films of the year list the year it came out. So Terrifier 3 of course I'll be excited about. It's just great to have a new horror icon again. Fall Guy, directed by David Leitch, who gave us Bullet Train, gave us Deadpool 2, gave us Atomic Blonde. Some great action stuff, and stuntmen, stunt work is a very overlooked part of the film industry. So a film that is a ton of fun and has some great stunts and is able to showcase this group of people that put in a ton of work and deserve all the credit they get, deserve more credit than they get even, I think it's going to be a ton of fun. It comes out in the summer, so I'm hoping for that fun summer, like Bullet Train-ish vibe. I think it'll be great. Ballerina, set in the John Wick universe. John Wick 4 just came out last year, and the show spinoff, which I haven't seen yet, I don't know if it's any good or not. I actually didn't hear much about it, so I have no idea. But Ballerina is a spinoff in the same universe as John Wick. I'm excited to see where it goes. I feel like they might be expanding this universe a little bit too quickly, but it's also absolutely filled to the brim with wonderful, in-depth characters that are very interesting and feel like they have their own storylines and plot lines. Like, you watch John Wick 4 or even 3 or 2, and like a character will come in and it feels like a fully fledged dude who has like an entire backstory, and then they'll just like either die or they'll leave the story or whatever, and it's like, what the heck was their deal? It's like, it feels like their story should have took place in an older movie, and something Ballerina might be able to fill in a gap. Obviously, I don't think obviously Ballerina didn't exist before, but just expand the universe outward and maybe we'll see some of those returning characters. I don't know. I am very excited to see this film, though. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is the continuation on the Planet of the Apes trilogy, one of the best trilogies of modern times. Absolutely astounding what those movies were capable of doing. I'm also excited because this is the director of the upcoming Legend of Zelda film, Wes Ball, and I'm interested to see what he can do. Obviously, he did the Maze Runner films, that trilogy, which I really liked the first one, and the next two were whatever. So I'm interested to see what he's capable of now. This film, on top of having the stress of being a follow-up to one of the best modern film trilogies, also has the added stress of being basically the portfolio of like, all right, Wes Ball, let's see what you can do. Let's see how nervous I have to be for the Zelda film. Interesting pinpoint in this year with this film. Godzilla, Kong, and the New Empire. That little X has confused a lot of people. I'm just going to choose not to say it. Say Godzilla Cross Kong, Godzilla Plus Kong, Godzilla Kong, New Empire. So, will this film reach what -1 did? No. Will it even reach what Skull Island did? Probably not. But I love Godzilla, and I love King Kong, and hey, 2 8 movies in a row. Let's see what they do together. This MonsterVerse thing has been a lot of fun. It's cool to see another cinematic universe kind of do well. The MCU exists, and that's like the only one. The DCEU existed to some mixed results. So this one, it's chugging along at its own pace, one every few years. So, let's see what they're capable of with this one. Joker, Folie à Deux, is Joker 2, basically. So this film, I really liked the first Joker film. And this becoming a franchise was obvious when you saw the box office, but not so obvious when you just saw the first movie. This universe felt like it could have been its contained own Elseworld DC story. But now we're going to expand it a little bit, and we're going to grow the story. We're going to include Harley Quinn, and it's supposed to be a musical. It's supposed to be very strange. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. I want to see people like walk out of the theater and be like, what the heck just be exposed to something they never thought they were going to. I think a lot of people felt that way with the first Joker film, going in expecting a comic book film. And of course it was a comic book film, but it was a lot darker and seedier and touched on a lot more intense themes than I think a lot of people were equipped to deal with. So this one will be interesting to see what the talking points are afterwards. Deadpool 3, weirdly enough, the highest comic book film on the list. There's only one MCU film coming out this year now, I guess, and it's Deadpool 3. So, love the first Deadpool films. I adored the first one when I first saw it, and I've liked it a little bit less every time, but it's also been a little bit of time since I've seen it. I think Deadpool 2 is just a smidget better. So, of course, I'm excited to see what they're able to do with this character, given all the tools that they have now, all the things they can make fun of, all the worlds they can play around with, and the multiverse thing. It's been a little played out, for sure. But I think Deadpool is a character that can really harp on the fact that it's played out and also turn it into something fun. So, Of course, Deadpool 3 is going to be pretty high. I'm very excited to see this one. Furiosa is the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, one of the best action movies ever. Of course, it took a little bit longer for this one to come out than I think a lot of people would have hoped, me included. It's been 9 years since Mad Max Fury Road, and of course, like, sequels, you want like 2-3 years, whatever. But the thing is like, it makes me a little bit nervous because it's been like, well, it's been some time, so how much time, like, how much magic has passed? But then you gotta remember that Fury Road took how many years after Beyond Thunderdome, and then it was one of the best films ever. So I'm okay with George Miller taking the time he needs to on this, perfecting the script, perfecting the vision, whatever he needs to do. I'm there. I'm very excited. And number 1, Dune Part 2. This one I think wouldn't have been as high if it wasn't pushed so late. Like, I was amped for this film like all of last year, and then like a few months before it was set to come out, it's like, oh, nope, next year. So it's here. It's number 1. Feels a little bit like cheating putting it here, but whatever. It's the movie I'm most looking forward to seeing because Dune took my breath away watching that for the first time, and I'm very stoked to see Part 2 on the biggest screen I can. And yeah, I don't really remember what I said about this last year, but just straight up, Dune was amazing. I expect Dune 2 to be amazing. Not even I hope. I pretty much expect it to be amazing and blow my socks off in something that I've never seen before. And if it disappoints, it disappoints, but I don't think it will. So that's my list of the 20 films I am most looking forward to seeing this year. So are there any films on this list that you are very much looking forward to? Are there films that you're not looking forward to? Are there any films I didn't talk about here that you're like stoked about? Like Madam Web, maybe. That's the most anticipated movie of the year for you. I don't know. Please let me know. By all means, thank you very much for watching. And as always, like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you at some point.